Oskimi again. We're going to take a look at this week's potential price action. We're going to look at what happened last week and just see how everything has gone down. It's been a big week, probably one of the biggest weeks since Mt. Gox, probably one of the top three biggest crazy weeks like in literal crypto history. So this is going to be an interesting one. As you guys probably well know, the situation regarding FTX and Sam, and a lot of that you can kind of fill in for yourself, right? You're probably well aware of that situation. You're also probably aware well of or have been directly affected by it. And some of you, just to be kind of real for a few minutes, I know a lot of people that lost everything. I know a lot of people have lost quite a bit. I didn't lose as much as I probably should have, and I could chalk that up to different things, but that doesn't necessarily matter. I mean, the point is we had something devastating happen in our ecosystem. We're all in this together, and I know people that I've talked to literally for 5 years that lost millions, lost everything, and are starting completely from scratch. And surprisingly, a lot of these people are in pretty good mood still, and that's good to see. But if you are affected by this, I really just want to apologize that that's happened to you. You don't have to make any excuses or say that you screwed up, you could have did better. Like, we all can at all times. Like, it's not about whether you could have done better or not. It's just a lot of these people that are kind of just on people's rear end about, oh, why'd you keep all your money on the exchange? Well, it probably would have happened to other people if it was a different exchange. So these people are kind of being hypocrites in that regard. Like, it only happened to certain people because of the exchanges that were involved. If it was a different exchange, different people would be involved. So I think it's not helpful to break down people at a time when they're already broken down. And it's crypto is it's a very small community now. It used to be very popular, and it still is. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of people have left either temporarily. I know people that have been in this space before I joined that are now gone because they because of this situation, accounts suspended permanently or lost all their money. So it's very devastating, and I am here for you if you ever need to talk. My DMs are open. Happy to sort that out. So this video, I don't actually know how this is gonna go. This is the first time I'm looking at this from a complete market perspective. I have been watching the charts, but I know there's some key issues that I want to talk about. The first one is, because we had a huge exodus, so to speak. Well, we had several things. Like, one, we had the number 2 exchange just collapse, and it wasn't just FTX. It was also other things that people are involved in. The protocols that they were with, the projects that they helped be part of. So that's one reason Solana is also down to $13.50, even though Solana is not directly involved in FTX. They were in a huge, buddy kind of relationship, so that really affected things. We also had things like Radium, and you'll see if I can put that up really quick. I don't, this went down a lot because of the situation. Serum, I think I may have saw that Serum is done. Maybe not. It's a little bit weaker. I think I heard that they have some major problems of some regard. As you can see, this is where all of that happened. And if we take just the top of it, we're down 75%. This makes me think that something did happen. I'm pretty sure I saw that they are unable to process anything right now, or they're directly involved where they're going to go bankrupt or something as well. A lot of other ones are affected. I had some money on the Solana network, and I took it all out, just because I'm just, you never know what's going to happen. Solana has a very similar pattern to Serum, and I think Solana could, out of all the other chains besides Ethereum and Binance, I think Solana's it could rebound, and that's one of the reasons it's still on this main area, because it had real people involved in real projects, and it got tied up. I think it will not surprise me if it does fall apart. And 65% is not really good. I wouldn't be surprised if Solana just falls off the map, but I'm also hopeful that it will stay around. I've been kind of telling people Bitcoin and Ethereum is probably your best bet for now. So that also leads me to the second thing, is that the liquidity is so low because people have exited the markets for the time being. So that brings some issues where, like, people, even some market makers I've seen that have kind of just put things on pause. And so that's going to be trouble. So like if you go to the Bitcoin chart, let's say a 3-minute chart, this is just some really choppy price action here. And this makes it a lot harder to trade, right? And so something like this is a breaker move. I've been really harping on this lately. I do trade it a lot, and the reason I've really brought it up is because it just happens a lot lately. And breakers are also a sign of a bearish market as well. At least the bullish breakers are. So if you have a breakthrough right here, it broke through this region right here. That's why it's called a breaker. And then it also, it's at the top here, so it also broke through this region here. So that makes me think that it's going to go back down here. And let's see, I usually mark it at the very bottom of it. And so I think you could do something like this. That kind of lines up with this weakness coming in here. I think we can visit the upper 15s again. So just something like that's been occurring very often. But also one reason breakers occur is what I was getting at. They occur often because there's not enough liquidity to create real price action. And if somebody fat fingers this, it just goes up too fast. And that's basically what it is. So when things are less liquid as they should be, price gets impacted more. So for example, a dollar, supposedly US dollars are extremely liquid. That's why if you try to change 4 quarters for $1, you're going to get 4 quarters for $1 because it's liquid that way. Or if let's say you buy a $2 soda or a beverage, you're going to get one beverage for $2. It's so you can go to your local store or just say like a local McDonald's or whatever. Let's say you buy a $10 meal, right? Every day it's going to be $10, and it might eventually go up to $10.50, but that is probably because of inflation, not because the dollar is illiquid. And we can argue about the semantics of that long term, especially since we're in the finance world technically, that yeah, it can be illiquid. But let's say you're trying to buy a collector's item of some sort, and there's not many of them, so then the price is going to drastically increase. Like a buddy of mine, he's really into high collecting video games, like rare games, and his whole basement is just loaded with arcades and games, and I think he's I think he sold like $40,000 worth of games this year just because he knows how to flip them, right? So, but and I've got some games too. But I can look at the price of one of my games. Like I got a game that's worth $400, and then I tried to sell it, and then when I tried to sell it, it was only worth like $250, because the price is changing so much because it's illiquid, and now the price may go up, it might go down. I don't know. I still have it, and it's a Fire Emblem game if anybody's wondering, but see what I'm saying? Like, because there's less of them, the price is going to be impacted more. Same what we got going on here with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I've told some people, I would strongly avoid any coins below the top 20 in terms of volume. And let me show you what I mean by this. We'll go to CoinGecko here, and you got the market cap coins, right? And then we got the volume. If you want to sort the 24-hour volume, so the top 3 coins, these are stable coins, these are wrapped stable coins pretty much. You can see the volume is like, this one's not even three figures, 3. This one's like $100, so this one's like 1,000. And then you got this, an exchange token, which is less than 100,000. This is extremely low. Now I know BTC is not the best exchange. I've actually worked for them before, but people are getting out of exchanges, and this is the result. No volume is coming on. Wouldn't be surprised if BTC falls apart. Not saying they will, not saying they won't. They may have. I don't know. I don't keep track. Next one is Radix. This is a Solana coin, as I was saying. Volume is 500,000. 500,000. So if you have, I mean, even if you have, what is it, like $20,000, $25,000, or even less, even if you have like 10,000, you're going to affect this very massively. So that's because there's just not a lot of volume to get what you need going on, right? So, and honestly, like even Tether Gold, I couldn't even tell you what that is, to be honest. I think it's price matched to the gold. Anyway, less than $1 million, and then you got this is a Atom network coin, so that's doing okay, especially relative to its market cap, because it's pretty slow in comparison to Leo token, which is like 8 times the size of it, doing the same volume. So see what I'm saying? Like, the volume is just not here. So then if we sort it back by market cap again, Bitcoin of course is at the top, doing a lot of volume, about 8 to 9.5%, of what the market cap is. That's going about the same ratio. This is a much higher ratio because people are getting into Tether. It's almost 100%. It's like 85%. So people are getting into Tether. This is one thing you can notice, by the way, is look at the discrepancies between the volume and the market cap, and you can see what's going on. Another thing you can do is, and I mentioned this in my private Telegram, rank by 24-hour volume, and this top one is Tether, which is actually number 3, which means Tether is more in demand than it is equal to its market cap. And so that's another thing. So when you go to like Trust Wallet, big influx of Trust Wallet. I was actually going to recommend this in my Telegram, and I didn't, because I didn't think it would move, and sure enough, it did 100% in a week. So it just kind of shows you what's going on with that. I honestly couldn't tell you why the Trust Wallet has a token, and that's another reason I didn't mention it. But these two in general have high volumes in comparison. They're like 12 to 15th ranked on top of volume, but their market caps are in the 40s. So this means these are more in demand. Chillis is in demand because of the World Cup. Trust is in demand because of what happened with FTX. So that's a little insight as well. So going back to this, we can kind of cover a little bit of what's going on, but that's a good frame of reference. We'll go to the total market cap like we usually do. And we'll see from the weekly perspective, big drop off. I got a divergence here because, or a divergence line because there is a divergence, and I'll mention that in a little while. But this was the big drop off, and we dropped from candle to candle close 20%, so pretty significant. But we also got these big candles here. I mean we dropped much more recent, in past months. A lot of people here want to view this as capitulation, and even panic, even the stages before capitulation, and I strongly disagree. This is the top right. This is kind of the complacency and denial area. This right here is textbook panic and capitulation, in my opinion. And I'm not really sure why people wouldn't think it otherwise. Like we had a 57% drop in this range. And so if this isn't capitulation, I don't understand what is. Like, yeah, I mean, we could drop another 57%. And that would put us, much down below. I think on the Bitcoin level, that would be like 12,000, like somewhere between 9 to 11,000, 12,000 maybe. But that's just way too low to be a capitulation event. So I'd say at the very least we are towards the end of a capitulation event, And I think the reason that gets a lot of news or discussion is because everybody just likes that word. It's more of a buzzword in terms of the Wall Street cheat sheet. People just like to use it as a buzzword, like, oh, you capitulated, blah blah blah. And we also got to keep in mind that the Wall Street cheat sheet is just a reference point. It's not meant to be like a textbook thing that we should follow, So that's something to keep in mind as well. But from the looks of this was the top, obviously. This was like the complacency, denial phase, capitulation. This was the panic, because we had the low, we panicked, and we had all that go on. To me, this is like the anger phase. This looks very like anger phase-ish to me. And so I believe that we're kind of either... I believe that we are towards the end of the anger phase and going into the depression phase. I used to think that this was the depression phase and that we were done. And we could be. And like I said, it's just a reference point. It may not be one way or the other, and that's okay. But what I can see is something like this going on, and then we go back down. And then we kind of do this for a little bit. I don't know how long that would be, to be honest. Just kind of... Anyway, maybe I should just get rid of that one. But the point is I think we'll rally up. I think we'll rally up, potentially. And that's going to trick a lot of people into certain things. Like, it'll trick people to think that the bottom is in. And there's still there's still some people like that. And the thing is, like, a lot of hardcore traders, like people that have been here for a while, like me or somebody else, or hardcore traders that just don't give a crap, emotionally speaking, positive or negative. Like, those people you can't use as a rubric, because those people are going to have near infinite money. Like, not me, obviously, but like other people, like a good, name a good trader out there. Like CBS is a very good trader. And there's other ones as well. I think a lot of you guys follow, like Trader XO is another one. Like, those guys they're going to be able to survive in pretty much any environment. And if the chance they can't survive in an environment, they don't trade it in that environment. They know when to do everything, pretty much, essentially. I'm not saying that they're super pros or anything like that. I don't want to boast them up, and I'm not trying to say this from an objective perspective, is what I'm saying. and maybe I shouldn't have mentioned names, but the point is like you, those guys are exceptions to the rule versus the mainstream average retail trader who's afraid to trade, who sold here instead of up here. And so those are the guys that you need to kind of that average person is the people you need to use for this reference. So I think this could happen where people get excited after like, oh hey, this is like the worst event since Mount Gox, right? So this must be the bottom. We rally, oh this was the bottom. Oh, and then we actually go lower. Oh, this wasn't the bottom. Now I don't know what the bottom is, and then people panic in this area, and then we rally. So I think, a lot of people have mentioned this, top to bottom. I don't think that we go below like 400 level. This also matches this little area right here, where we did have a breaker above this level. That's concerning, but we're almost there. A lot of sentiment right now is that we are going to keep going lower. That's been the norm. So rallies are not something that we are looking at any longer. So we'll see how that goes. For now, we do have kind of a divergence in play, but this is kind of a warped pattern. We're still rejecting. So as of now, this is not something I want to see. Daily, same thing. Breakdown. We faded this pump. We're in the process of pumping again, but this is good to see, even though this is not liquid necessarily. It's the way to get things liquid is to get the engine moving again. So like if you have a car sitting around for years on end, best thing to do is lube it up, get the oil in there, change everything out, and just let it run. And so that's how it goes. But we had the strike through here, pump fade to the retest of this level, fade again. Arun is bullish consolidation, which is why overall this is still above the lows, but still pretty weak. And we'll just go through all this. Bitcoin, as went below. This is a very, let's see if I can focus on a different one. Get rid of all this. All right, so as you know, we had this level here. This was the low, broke through, kind of hovering at a weird level. It doesn't line up at this level at 13.3. Kind of like on the top of this here, kind of stays there, but not really. Like it's kind of a weird, like I don't see from a technical perspective why that would make sense. So I can't really, like, I think there's a much higher chance that this would go down is what I'm saying. This is just a weird spot to do it. The only thing that makes sense other than that is like if you do a line chart and you kind of just do this. But even then you still got some room to go. So that kind of makes sense to me, and we are almost there. But we're still in the middle of nothing. So another concept would be like the mid of this. That would make sense. But again, that doesn't make that those are so uncommon though that I never think about those, and you probably shouldn't either. So kind of in a weird situation here. If we go up from here, I really think that we kind of trade somewhere in the 24,000 range. We think it's over, and then it goes back down. I would prefer that not to happen. We're so close to what a lot of people believe is the bottom, because from the 86 rule. And so some people think it could go as low as like 9,000. I'm not one of those people. I think I would have a hard time believing it goes any lower than 11.8. And because of this right here. Now it might wick below 11.8. I have a hard time believing that it goes below red. and so much so that if it does go to the red, I plan on buying pretty much a bunch. I can also see a divergence playing out here. This is much more evident on the 2-week. Got the higher low on the RSI, got the lower low on the price action. We still got 6 days to go, but I still think that that's going to cover it no matter what. My thing is, I think we're going to have a mediocre week, and then we're going to jump higher from there. And again, this area doesn't make sense on a 2-week, so it's just kind of hovering. But you know, you might be able to get a low of here. Another thing that also is interesting from that perspective is if you go to the Coinbase chart and then you go to, I think you can pick any time frame, but from the late 2018, you know, early 2019 bottom, this really was kind of a weird area as well, because if you go here and you were kind of just in between this area, so we didn't quite touch the bottom of this, but we also broke through the low of here, so it's kind of a weird area. And I mean, that's good enough kind of thing. Like TA doesn't have to be 100% precise. Sometimes it is abstract, and I know that's not what you want to hear, but that's just sometimes how it is. And so we're kind of seeing that as well here. Another reason I think if this kind of stays in this area, I think we pump from here if we close the week like this. So very, very interesting. If you want to go by the top, by the way, you're kind of a little bit higher, but still the same. I'm looking at the red area for a potential bottom, so we'll see on that one. And go to Ethereum, and then we'll had the drop through again, just like we had on all the other ones. It barely failed, so that's a little concerning. We want to see a reclaim of that on a high time frame. Arun is wide bullish, which does help in that narrative, but we're kind of in this weird area again. So basically, break above that, I'd long. Break down below that is short or buying large dips at certain intervals. On the daily, I had some kind of notes here, but we've been pumping, fading, and I think the pump was in regards to CZ kind of doing his thing. But you can see we kind of pumped up above. Here's the mid of that region. We held below the mid, and then we faded. Now we're kind of hanging around. So that's, again, we're kind of fighting these areas. And one thing that you'll probably see as well is that this price action is going to get really boring, and then the boredom that you receive in combination with the complacency, anger, depression, depending on, not necessarily depression, but like based off of what's happened already in the market, and you combine that with boring price action, it's going to get very dull. You're going to fight an insane wave of emotions. I did this in 2018, 2019. I pretty much had given up. The only reason that got me back in was because I literally, for some dumb reason, I threw everything at Bitcoin at $4,000. Now, that wasn't a dumb idea, but I did that in response to a dumb reaction. I basically just said, screw it. I'm not doing this anymore. I had all my money in Bitcoin, and it doubled. It almost tripled, actually. And I was like, well, maybe I can get back into this. And so that's, I gave up literally at the bottom. And so once you get to that point that you truly want to give up, not that you believe that you're going to, but that you truly, truly, truly do or want to, that's probably part of the market cycle that indicates a bottom could be near. But just be mindful of your money as well. Like, don't blindly get into this. I am not in the markets at all right now. I mean, I might have So I do this ratio where I always have at least 10% of my investments in the market at all times. Even situations like this, so I'm down to my minimum of 10. So I was about 60% in before the drop. I got out really quickly. I wasn't on any exchanges that were affected, so I got fortunate in combination with some, strategies I already had in place. But as of right now, for all intents and purposes, I'm not in the market, and I'm looking for something like Ethereum, rather go on a higher time frame. Not really looking to buy here, to be honest. We're so close to there, but I'd probably prefer to buy above 2,000. If at this point, that's not something I want to do, but I might consider a buy here. You guys know I'm a big fan of my Aaron band, and if you are interested in the Apex Academy that I got coming up, you guys are going to get access to this band. When this flips blue again, I'm a buyer on the 4-day. Now, as you can see, we had a red, bluish action there. We did not here. So I only buy on a trend line typically when this is blue. It wasn't blue here, so that's another reason I missed it. I didn't get in as heavy as I did. So like I would have been a buyer up here, but I would have closed below this line. So I probably would have bought closer to the top of this and sold maybe at a break even or a loss. This one was roughly break even or a little bit of a loss as well. This one I was not involved in. And the reason I do that is because you see things like this where this never can go right, where I was a buyer, at 385. The stop is kind of pointless here, but let's say you put it right there, and then I rode this big wave up, and I probably would have sold here roughly. So something like this. There was no divergence up here, so I probably would have held. I would have held it. Let's see, so 40R. So that's one reason those bands are important. And yeah, it kind of sucks in this regard, but everybody, it sucks for everybody, right? Like I saw somebody like giving away all of their trading strategies for free in response to the FTX thing, right? And hey, that's fine, but like you're probably also giving them away because they're not useful right now. A lot of these trading strategies that you see, like they talk about top performance in the past 6 to 12 months. Well, that's because the market was doing this. Like you could just buy and just do nothing, and you could make, like tons of money. Let's see how much let's see how much that was. If we go back far, there we go. Just holding would have gave me almost 600%. And it probably would have gave me more if I would have held that. 900, you might be able to push to 10, but I doubt you would, right? So it's like you would have had somewhere at least 500% and a good chance at 8 to 900% just by holding, not by doing some silly strategy that's not profitable for them anymore, and so they're just giving it away for free. Like it's those kind of things, like people that give things out for free, they do it to bait you into something that does cost money. Or this is coming from, this is as a marketing guy who also is having my own masterclass coming up. Like things that are free are usually to try to hook you on something that's called lead generation or lead magnets, a combination of those. And then if something that did cost money and was no longer free, they have, it's not because they care. I mean, it could be. I'm not saying it can't, but it's this particular person in mind, I won't mention their name either, but they've had these trading strategies for 2 years. Why all of a sudden are they giving them away for free? Just it makes sense to me that they are no longer profitable and nobody's making money right now. Nobody's making money trading this. Very few people. Look at this. How can you make money doing this? And you can. I'm not saying you can't, but the majority of people is what I'm saying. Majority of people is not trade. You can see how this looks like a complete, utter coin that has just totally been delisted. This is bad. And this is starting to improve a little here. It's hard to tell in the scope of 1 week or whatever, but 1 week. So, but you even had this. This is a sign. I mean, even before we dropped, this was just a sign of just bad environments. So anyway, we can take a brief look at Binance Chain since I'm kind of taking way much longer than I expected, but kind of the same thing. Nothing much has changed. We had an initial pump at first, break down. I don't think it lost as much, about 18%. So it did okay. It's holding up. It's actually holding up its low, so that's okay for now. I think this will eventually fall down below though. We've rejected the 50 here. Very slim bullish consolidation here, so that's usually not as effective. So it's kind of contesting for another lower low, but nothing really much to see there. As I said, my main focus is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and and we'll see how this plays out. I'm not expecting much this week, one way or the other. I think people are still. It's an appropriate time to be bearish, but I do think we do need to check our bias as well. And so we'll see. This isn't particularly healthy, but we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, feel free to reach out. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Do what you got to do to survive this market. And let me know if you got any questions or anything at all. Cheers.